Volkswagen is struggling mightily with its software. It wants to do its own software. It's been trying to do its own software. It put its own software in its EVs and they wouldn't drive. They sat in car parks for a long time. Finally, they delivered them to customers and now customers are, well, to put it kindly, furious. So Volkswagen has a solution. Will it work? I think it might, but it's going to be controversial in Germany. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. Welcome to all the new subscribers and welcome back everyone else. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing and supporting the movement, which is to basically call out the idiots, meaning car companies that are still focusing on gasoline-powered cars, even though their marketing departments are telling you a different story. And many people are believing in this stuff hook, line, and sinker. They want to believe it, therefore they do. But is it really true? Well, most automakers, you know what? The best were doing around 5% of their vehicle sales, EVs, last year. You know, the best, they haven't really changed all that much. Volkswagen now, what are they at? 6.5%? Dramatic ramp up. Yeah, not as dramatic as what they said it would be, is it? The media for a long time now have been saying there would be a Tesla killer on the horizon. The only company actually doing anything about that is BYD. It's good to see Tesla have some competition, and they do, in China. And that's where Volkswagen is going to try to solve their problems, which actually, when you think about it, makes a lot of sense. Now, Chinese automakers, particularly manufacturers that are startups, have a lot of experience now in producing EVs. Sounds crazy to say, considering this is a pretty new field, but they do. I mean, look at it. There's 16 different car manufacturers in China producing more than 10,000 EVs per month. That's a lot of EVs in China. And the Chinese citizens, they won't accept vehicles with crappy infotainment, crappy software. Now, the Nissan Ariya, I've heard that that's one area where it could improve on. Chinese buyers might not be content with what's in that car. That's Nissan's new EV. In China, for example, if you bring out an EV, right, or to be honest, any kind of car really, and it has a computing speed or power that's not up to the absolute highest levels, consumers start to complain. They actually ask for refunds. This is what happens in China now. So companies have had to innovate. They've had to work out how to make their vehicles work. They've had to make the software really work at a level that, to be honest, embarrasses other car companies. The reality is, if you look at the infotainment systems and the actual software in some of these Chinese car companies, for example, XPeng, look at their software, NIO as well, look at it, and it really puts to shame what you're seeing now in Japanese EVs, like what you're seeing in Toyotas now. It's night and day. The computing speed is way, way faster. And therefore, Volkswagen went, you know what? We'll get the Chinese to solve this problem for us. That's essentially what they've done. As automakers like Volkswagen Group join the list of car companies hoping to top Tesla in the future, software plays a major role. And because Volkswagen are struggling with that, doing it in-house, they've learned was harder than what they thought. Now, the reality is not many people are aware of this fact. Car companies have basically just done all this stuff out. I mean, Ford, they say to companies, you know what, can you make our badges for us? Ford doesn't make their own badges. You know, we'll do some of the engine parts and we'll take everything else, take some stuff from Bosch, we'll take some stuff from all the different manufacturers and we put it together and we make a car. So therefore, most companies, very few companies in fact, have historically done their own software. They've had that outsourced. They don't tell you that because it doesn't sound luxurious. If you buy a BMW and you realize that most of the car is not made by BMW, then you probably think, oh, hang on, is this really luxury? I mean, if I've got, you know, all these different parts in my car from all these different suppliers. So that's realistically what happens. And that's where it gets complicated. Because companies don't do vertical integration like Tesla and BYD do, they're trying to fit all these different parts together from all these different brands, all these different systems. Literally they are. They're trying to pit some cars, I mean, some gasoline-powered cars have like 60 different computer chips that they have to connect together, and lots of them are from different manufacturers. That is complicated. That is seriously complicated. So vertical integration has its benefits, right? If you're in charge, if you make all those parts yourself, you basically have them all fit together using your system. It's much simpler. And that is what automakers are struggling to do. Now, former Volkswagen Group CEO Herbert Diess, apparently everyone says was fired because he couldn't work out software in EVs, as if that was somehow his personal fault. But anyhow, that's what people say. That's what the media says. But he said at the time when he was the CEO of Volkswagen that Volkswagen had indeed been struggling with software in their EVs, and they needed to do what Tesla was doing and to try to emulate Tesla. Now, Volkswagen Group, along with the big three automakers, Ford and General Motors, according to Stephen Loveday from Inside EVs, have what it takes to produce more EVs than Tesla. Now, I'm not sure where he's getting his numbers from. I personally think that that's just like a fanciful opinion. It's not actually backed by any facts. But anyhow, Stephen says that these companies have factories across the globe and they've been successfully building cars for decades. Volkswagen Group has a long list of brands under its umbrella, which should also help. Now, Stephen says that many of today's top automakers, including Volkswagen, have already proven they can produce and sell compelling EVs. Well, yeah, some people might disagree with that. Customers might disagree with that. But anyhow, Tesla is much more than an automaker, he says. While traditional legacy automakers focus the majority of their efforts on manufacturing cars, Tesla is arguably a software and renewable energy company that has found much success selling cars, increasing margins exponentially, and turning massive profits. And I focused on Tesla's profits, which are much higher than other manufacturers, and not only because of the profit they make on their cars, but because of their warranties. For example, let's compare Tesla to Volkswagen here. Volkswagen has recalled 5 times the number of cars. 5 times. I'm talking percentage-wise here. Percentage-wise. So 500% more than Tesla over the past 2 years. And one of the key reasons for this is that when Tesla has to do a recall, right, it can do it with software, over-the-air updates. It saves them hundreds of millions of dollars. It costs Volkswagen hundreds of millions. In fact, it cost Volkswagen 10 billion euros in 2020. 10 billion euros on recalls. Imagine if their recalls were, say, General Motors level, where it cost General Motors, I think 2.5 million, 1/4 of what it cost Volkswagen. Now, in a perfect world, any automaker could follow in Tesla's footsteps, though some have already proven it's a very tough path to follow. It's tougher to implement software that can fix your car over the air than you might think. And one thing Tesla is historically famous for is putting money into R&D rather than spending it on marketing. Focusing on research and development with a primary emphasis on software could prove to go a long way in helping automakers such as Volkswagen successfully navigate the transition to EVs, and this would give Tesla some legit competition. But right now, it's not really that close. To be fair, in Volkswagen's home country, right, Tesla Model Y outsold every other car in September by a long margin. It wasn't even close. Now, you might be thinking it's just a good month for Tesla, but it wasn't. August, they came equal third place. Then they took first place by a country mile the following month of September. It seems to be a trend. And it seems as though German consumers are working out why people want a Tesla. And one of the reasons is software. So, Volkswagen Group have put in place a joint venture in China for software production. This comes as no surprise, says Stephen Loveday, because Volkswagen is already wrapped up in multiple joint ventures in China with JAC, SAIC, and FAW. Now, personally, this by some people would be seen to be a good strategic move, but that said, Volkswagen's vehicle sales, when you hear, they sold 9 million vehicles this year or 10 million the previous year, remember, their sales in China, 50% of those sales are going to their joint venture partner, so are 50% of the profits. Now, apparently this project is requiring an investment of $1 billion, and it's also said to expect an official announcement from Volkswagen sometime next week. Volkswagen have turned down a request to comment on this matter. it's trying to keep it quiet because, I don't know, maybe people in Germany don't like the fact that Volkswagen is outsourcing a lot of its work, right? What are people in Germany going to think? Tesla is starting to disrupt Volkswagen, even in Germany. Obviously, Volkswagen have to be a little bit concerned about the Chinese car makers coming into Germany, which is what they've started doing. I mean, BYD just signed a contract for 100,000 EVs with a German car rental company. Didn't go to a local car manufacturer. Now, the thing is, what's concerning about this? Sales in Germany this year in the auto market are down at their lowest levels for 20 years. So, not only is there disruption coming, but sales are down massively, so it's a smaller pie to share. This is a situation where you can see why people in Germany might be thinking, hang on a minute, why can't we solve this here? Why can't you invest this money here in Germany? Right now, personally, I'm not really sure Volkswagen is looking all that good politically in Germany. For various reasons. They just fired their CEO, who many people believed, as I did, was the right person to lead the company into this new age of electrification. He was pushing electrification. The company and the board pushed back against it. They got rid of him. This is the result. Let's invest the money in China. Maybe they can fix it for us. What do you think? Good move? Bad move? I can't say I'm surprised, but I'm not sure that this is the right decision. That said, keep in mind, 40% of Volkswagen's profit comes from the Chinese auto market. 40% of their profit worldwide comes from China. So clearly, Volkswagen are also concerned they're losing the Chinese auto market. They need to focus on ramping up their EV sales there. And you know what? Volkswagen are very aware of the fact that people in China, well, Volkswagen's EVs, put it this way, don't have a great name in China either. And, well, why? Because software is number one. It's extremely important in China. And if Volkswagen can't get the software right, then it's going to lose market share in China. And that 40% profit, 40% is a lot of money to lose for the world's second most indebted company. Not automaker, the world's second most indebted company, period.